I always have to give this is my salute to my husband. I always have to take a sip. Hey, everybody. Welcome to The Thirsty Professional. This is a place where we grab a bevy, ditch the BS, and we get real about careers, purpose, and fulfillment. I'm your host, Beth Ann Campbell. I'm a survivor of 23 years in corporate and consulting, now working on my business ownership badassery. I'm also author of the award-winning Where the Hell is My Bacon? If you are watching live, please let us know that you're here in the comments and where you're from if we don't know. And most importantly, what are you drinking? Got my coffee today in my Wonder Woman cup in honor of my guest. If you're watching the replay, please give us a hashtag replay. And of course, if you have any questions or feedback, please let us know so we can address it during the live stream or on a future episode. So today, my very special guest on The Thirsty Professional is none other than my good friend, Trisha Lewis. Trisha is, in a word, the unsquasher. Yes, it is true. We are going to be talking about that in just a minute. She is also author of this amazing book here. Really, please go out and get this today, Mystery of the Squash Self. We're going to be talking about this. It is amazing, so clever, so fun. It's nothing that you've ever read before. It's just really amazing. So we'll talk more about that. Trisha has a rich background in acting, speaking, reminiscence facilitating. Oh my goodness, we might have to ask her what that is. And all of these things tied together for a love for communication, which she is amazing at, by the way, if I may say so. For the past 7 years, she's built a business as a communication and confidence coach. She's written and published her book. She's hosted a podcast. She's done a TEDx speech, all while not in her 20s and 30s. I mean, she is in her glory years, so she in her 60s. So what? I know. And now she's obsessed with climbing. You know those daunting rock walls that you see in the gyms where you need safety ropes? Oh yeah, she's doing that. So we're going to talk about all of this and more today. Please help me welcome Trisha Lewis. Trisha, welcome to The Thirsty Professional.
Well, yeah, I won't gush over you, but we could just spend an hour doing mutual
gush over each other, which is
we. I mean, that sounds a bit suspect, but yeah, it's lovely.
I know it's always uncomfortable but honestly, I bring people on here whom I just love and I handpick because you are interesting. You have an interesting life. So accept the gushing because it's all true. So today we are going to talk about unsquashing and we're going to talk about climbing. We're going to talk about your journey. But first, of course, I have to ask, what are you drinking today?
Oh, yes. No, do you know what? I'd forgotten you were going to ask that. So this is going to sound so pretentious.
Oh, no.
So pretentious. I have literally just finished a cup of matcha latte.
Oh, that's not, every time somebody talks about matcha latte, I say, I don't think I've ever had matcha anything. So,
so
shame on me.
With oat milk as well, just to add to the general,
Oh, okay. So isn't
so
latte inherently milk?
Woke drink, that must be. I can't believe I'm drinking that. But yeah, it's Steve, my husband, got this matcha, and it's quite earthy if you have it just as without.
It's like green powder,
creamy milk with it. Yeah, nice.
Well, and also I have to thank you for wearing your lovely investigator. Is it inspector?
Yeah.
Investigator
Lewis. Yeah.
Investigator Lewis from the book. Awesome. Thank you so much. I love it when my guests wear hats. Trisha, you put a post out the other day. I haven't even mentioned this to you, but you put a post out the other day, maybe it was yesterday, and you put a link into, is it your son that was on the podcast for his work? Trisha, your son is funny. He's funny. He's really good. I was listening to him and he's very chill. Like he's not like a us kind of in your face. He's very laid back, but just got stuff and I know, right? We'll just say that's all for you. He's really funny.
He's funny. I have to tell you, he's extremely handsome as well. But I mean,
yes,
if he ever listens to this, why not? I've said that so many times in front of him to embarrass him. So he's used to it. Yeah. He's my youngest child. I didn't have him till I was 37. So I think he's kept me young because he's now only 30, which is, for someone of my age, that's comparatively young. So yes.
Well, he was amazing. I listened to about 3/4 of the podcast yesterday, and I was laughing out loud a few times because he just would pick up on, and it's not anything rehearsed. He could be a comedian, but he's that funny. But anyways, I'm checking in real quick. We've got Stella Scott joining us. Stella, who was on the show a few weeks back. Check out that episode. Stella is drinking her cafe latte. So latte, a big theme today. I think I'm a latte too. I've got some milky stuff in here. I think that's, and she also loves your hat, Trisha, which yes, I do too. Hats are amazing. All right. So Trisha, we're going to jump into some juicy topics today, but I want to know first, because I just rattled off a whole bunch of things that you've done even in less than the last decade. But how did you get to here? Like, what did you do for the first few decades of your adult life before you did all this other stuff?
Okay. Well, what I've done here is a bit cheeky, but because I'm so old, okay, I thought, oh, geez, I mean, where would I even start? And we'll be here for hours and that will be so boring. So what I've done is I've thrown almost like a bit of a word thing together here, and it takes me from childhood to where I am now in the space of a minute. And you can come back, anybody in the chat, anybody can come back and ask for more on any of these that I'm going to throw out at you. Okay,
awesome.
Here we go.
Oh, I'm so excited. I don't know. I mean, I knew that she was going to do this, but I don't know what she's going to talk about. And I'm loving it.
Completely unprepared.
Yes.
So am I. No, here we go. So, posh Surrey childhood, bit lonely, Harry Potter style schools, A-levels at a boys' school, art school dropout, Harrods, Mad Men, advertising world, and other ill-suited careers, Italian waiter drama, 3 marriages, 3 kids, acting, theatre, village halls, open air, cabaret, entertainment, one-woman shows, care homes, women's institutes, yacht clubs, reminiscence facilitator, hundreds of funerals. Lots of lessons, lots of figuring life out, uni late in life, communication degree, actor, speaker, voice, led to me setting up my coaching business, communication and confidence. And I made up a word, self-squashing. I wrote a book, I did a TEDx, I started a podcast. And more recently, 2 years ago, at the tender age of 65, I took up a new hobby, which was totally unlike me. I'm a bit of a wimp, but it was climbing, as has been mentioned. And that's it, really. Got me to present day. How's that?
That's it. Oh, okay, good. Because you know what? I got some of this on my list, but not a lot. Okay, Mad Men advertising. Tell me about that. This is a traditional corporate type of a job? What did you do?
Yeah, so basically the ill-suitedness of all of this was writ large because I
think it's inherent.
I didn't know what the heck I was doing, you know. So from art school dropout, I went and worked in mother care in Guildford because it was advertised in the job centre, and I just wanted to be my own person and earn my own money and all the rest of it. Anyway, my dad, very successful businessman, I'll just say he was the chairman actually of Birdseye Frozen Foods. So I grew up on fish fingers.
I know them.
Yeah, I literally am made from fish fingers and and peas and all the rest of it. So he was determined that his daughter, after all that money he spent on my Harry Potter style education, should, without the witchcraft bit, by the way, I just mean the building, should have a respectable career, not being a sales assistant apparently wasn't good enough. So he got me an interview with Harrods for their management training.
Wow.
And so I got onto that course, which I had no idea why I was doing it. 18 months later, I'm thrown off that course. I didn't fit. And then he thinks, oh God, what are we going to do with her? So he gets me into the ad agency that took Birdseye, that had Birdseye as a client.
Wow, okay.
So obviously they were going to take me. I mean, I'm in my very early, I'm about 20 at this point. So I walked into this huge Mad Men.
Like truly you are truly in the Mad Men. Wow.
It was the late 70s. So it didn't change much from what you're seeing, the Mad Men series. And, there was whiskey and everything
Oh,
else that went
crazy.
with it. And the secretaries were, you know,
Yeah.
and I was supposed to be like some kind of junior account manager, but really they just stuck me in an office because they didn't know what to do with me, but they had to be nice because one of their biggest clients,
Sure.
dad.
The Birdseye guy.
So
It's the daughter of the Birdside guy, guys. You gotta be
it
nice
was,
to her and get her, get her
yes,
an
yeah,
office, get her a paycheck, and we'll be good.
yeah.
This is a sitcom because that's what happens. I was just watching a clip of Mad Men on, scrolling just this morning, and it was where they wanted to fire Pete, one of the main guys, and he said, "No, you can't, because don't you know that the family's very, they're gonna like sit out on the docks and talk about how we did their kid wrong because they're so powerful." So yeah, you were that you were Pete.
I was that. Yeah, and so that didn't go so well. But weirdly, I then ended up going back into advertising after the Italian waiter drama bit, which we'll come back to. But I went back into it because
That is one I wrote down. I cannot.
I eventually did a secretarial course at Pitman's. And the first job that I happened to get was in an ad agency, another really posh. This was a very posh one that did things like Russell and Bromley and Simpsons and all that sort of stuff.
Wow.
Again, totally unsuited. And then weirdly, I wanted to get out of London, sent for copies of the Bournemouth Echo because for some reason I'd put a pin in a map, etc. And the first job interview was at an ad agency.
Oh my
And
God.
so
Well,
I
the
had
universe
no.
was sending you. I can't believe that you didn't stay there.
Yeah, and anybody who knows me, maybe this is the problem, will know how much I hate any form of marketing. So,
Right? I know it is a little. I mean, the ad age, it is creativity, so that's I can kind of see that, but it's also traditional business. So, all right, Trisha, I am going to take you back because I want to know what about the Italian waiter drama. Must know. See, this is
okay,
why I love this show, guys, because I know these people and I've talked to them and I know a lot about them because we have discussions beforehand and I just have known them sometimes for years. And then they come in, and I was telling Trisha this beforehand, like the things that I find out about people. Stella, you're another one where every time you get on a call, Stella, who's in our who was watching today, there's something new that she talks about that she did, and you're no different. So Italian waiter drama. That sounds like
okay.
a
Well,
chapter in a book.
so my love life was pretty much a car crash for a long, long time. But we won't get on the psychiatrist's couch over that just now. But
That's a whole other episode.
I just basically was very bored at Harrods, and I was very lonely living in London, in fact. But I did like disco dancing. And it was the 70s, folks. And so I got myself into this whole disco thing. And it was a dare from some girls I was with. They said, I bet you couldn't chat up that guy at the bar. And I realize now how much I really do rise to that kind of thing. And I think I
rise to the double dog down. I'm going to double dog dare you down. double down, double dog dare you, whatever.
I just did it, and it was like, and I had no idea where it was going to lead. He was extremely good looking, and
well, thank
very
God
Italian, and it was the start of what I would put in inverted commas as a relationship. It was a fantasy, really. I was living out some kind of fantasy story with this dark, swarthy Italian who was at the time, a waiter, and we ended up getting, after a very weird relationship, we weirdly got engaged and we weirdly arranged to get married. Yeah. And and I had the dress and the marquee, remember, quite a posh family, marquee caterers, the lot, church booked.
Oh, so you're planned. You are like, you've got, this isn't just like some whim. This is like, you've got
I'm
caterers.
still living a fantasy, Beth. This made no sense whatsoever. I mean, I know it wasn't even a healthy relationship. I mean, he took me to Naples at one point, and so I got to see the back streets of Naples in ways that maybe a tourist wouldn't see. So anyway, there we are, a week before the wedding, and and we went to somebody else's wedding, and he got very possessive because he was, folks. And I got weird, and I decided not to do what he was telling me to do.
No, I don't know that you got weird. I think that he was weird
I
and you
woke
got
up. I
yeah,
woke
yeah,
up.
yeah,
Unfortunately, I also went to sleep again about a year later, but
yeah.
we won't
That's
go
a
there
whole
for the
other
moment,
story.
but it's exhausting, this. But anyway, I canceled the wedding, and that was many hundreds of pounds worth of collateral damage. I literally 1 week before the wedding, I called it off.
Good for you,
Then
though. You know
then
what?
I met him. Fast forward, I don't know, 20 years, whatever. I met him again, only to discover he was a millionaire running a really popular Italian restaurant in Hampstead Heath.
Well, great opportunities missed, but, opportunities gained that you didn't end up living with a possessive guy. So, you know what, Trisha? We've all had our little Italian adventures. I had one too. I'm not going to talk about it here today, but you know what? That is fascinating. I did have on my list. I know everybody is because I've put this in a few of my posts as well. Can you talk about what is a reminiscence facilitator?
Yeah,
Because
because
you told
this
me
will
this
actually,
before, and it's just fascinating to me.
it'll also redress the balance. People will now maybe be able to take me more seriously. Uh,
She's not just that crazy
no, I'm not.
bird's eye made of fish sticks lady who
No,
called off
who
her Italian
who
wedding,
called? I'm not. No,
her big
there's
fat
so much
Italian
more
wedding.
to me. So this actually is honestly a really rich part of my world, and it still exists. So this is, I think, of interest to everybody, or everybody will resonate with how things just happen by accident.
Mhm. Yeah.
You don't go around planning. Well, I never planned very much to do with career or relationships or anything, but anyway, I've had the most fantastic things, well, had the most dire things and fantastic things
Good.
happen by accident. And this is one of them. So to start at the end, a reminiscence facilitator is somebody who goes in and delivers sessions within day centers or care homes, residential care, whatever, primarily maybe with people with some form of a dementia, not necessarily, it could just be elderly, but with me very much they were dementia care homes, as a way of triggering them as individuals, their stories.
Oh,
They come alive. They start singing. It's not so there was music involved. There was poetry. There was,
it's so
but I
sweet.
but it's stuff.
Yeah.
I had baskets full of objects that I'd collected and magazines and pictures and hands-on and smells. Carbolic soap,
Oh,
all sorts.
like Vicks or something.
Everything. And from there emerges these people, instead of being people just sat in armchairs, or
Oh,
appearing to they individuals. I mean, I have to say at this point, I am not daft. For people related to those people, that is a very different story, because you are seeing somebody not being the person that you know.
yeah.
For me, I had the lucky privilege of being able to go in and do the best possible thing, spend that
That's
hour
amazing.
or whatever with them, and be able to walk away. And it wasn't my mum or my aunt. So I'm not in any way suggesting, oh, isn't, life's a whole bunch of rainbows.
No, but you're bringing some joy into people's lives. Did you do some singing as well?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
what Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy or like some
All that,
old
all that.
all that
Yeah,
stuff?
I
Oh
sort of
god,
started
I
off
love
doing
it.
quite a lot of 40s, and then as time went on, there was quite a lot of I did sort of themes, and I sort of then did more 60s as well, because obviously people grow, and
Yeah.
the 60s was very popular. Yeah, and I dressed up,
How
so
cute.
yeah,
I'm sure I've seen some of the pictures. You've posted quite a few of
yeah.
those over the years. I love that. That's just such a unique thing. I have so many things that I want to ask you about, but I really want to get into our topic too. Just want to quick check
Well,
in. We've
hold
got
on.
Doris. Doris is with us today. She wants to know more about squashing, such an amazing variety. Doris is going to be on the show in I think in March, if I'm not mistaken. Another firecracker. And Stella says, "There's nothing wimpy about you, Trisha, when you're talking about your rock climbing. You called yourself non-sporty." And so we will get there to how a non-sporty, wimpy woman gets herself into this new hobby. Stella says, my Italian adventure, one of them was living in Italy, going to nunnery school as a small child. Oh, we should have talked about that, Stella. That was a great adventure. Okay, Trisha, let's talk about, because Doris has mentioned it, let's talk about unsquashing. I'm going to put another plug out for this book, because go out and get this book today. It is on Amazon and other places, I'm sure. Trisha will talk about that maybe at the end, but this is what I'm telling you. This is a self-help book with some amazing lessons about ourselves and how we treat ourselves and how we navigate the world in ourselves. But it's so cleverly done, and it is like reading like a series of little novellas. But it's like reading a mystery book. It is very entertaining, as well as such good lessons. So you have to check this out. It's so good. But Trisha, let's start off with can we talk about what is squashed? I mean, in this context, what does it mean, and what's unsquashed versus squashed?
Okay, so I came at this via obviously my journey, and in fact, everything that we've been laughing and joking about up to now is all part of this, obviously, because how did I land upon this? You can see now a pretty much unsquashed version of me, but that has not always been the case, and I therefore have had a lot of journey making through, I mean, joke about the Italian waiter, but I actually had a really crappy first marriage, really bad. So a lot of rebuilding, but I didn't even know whether I was rebuilding or not, because I hadn't even figured out what was missing. And when I set up the coaching business was when it started to click into place, because I couldn't understand why I felt so out of alignment, so much of a misfit. And I thought, well, there's something wrong with me, or there's something wrong with everybody else, whatever way you want to put it. They're all ridiculous and I'm great, or I'm ridiculous and that, whatever. It was a tension, it was a fight. I then started thinking about imposter syndrome, because it was, everywhere.
Which so many of us.
It's just, and I thought, okay, interesting. I did a load of research, and in fact, the original book was going to be more about that. And then I thought, but is it that? Is it complete? Is that the whole story? And then I thought, do you know what I think might be going on? I think right from an early age, and I'm not, I mean, I was born in the 50s, and I mean, life was what it was, and my parents looked after me well, and I don't want to, but I don't think I was ever able to be the full ridiculous self that I am. Nicely ridiculous. I did do acting from a young age, and then I dropped it until I took it back up again, which that was a mistake, but I mean, dropping it. But that was probably the only time that I maybe was more something else, I don't know. But then again, you've got the masks going on, haven't you, and all that. But I suddenly thought, I know what's going on here, why there's this tension, and came up with this word, self-squashing, to describe suppressing your full power, passion, and personality out of a fear that you are going to be misjudged as a show-off.
Oh, and
in business, or as unprofessional, if you like.
It is such a perfect word too, because just for some folks, some of the topics and some of the chapters in the book, some of the lessons, talking about a politeness, like being too nice when we really probably shouldn't be. Women especially, we have this. We're just taught to just sit and say nothing, not embracing our accomplishments. Again, something that I think women tend to hold back, right? We think it's bragging, holding back on things. We were talking about this, holding back on things like humor, because we, don't want to be perceived as silly because of whatever reason. So all these things falling into this wonderful word of self-squashing,
and also squashing yourself into a template. Oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I'm supposed to look like. This is the kind of content I'm supposed to produce. And I really realized it, and this is what my TEDx talk talks about as well. when I was doing the networking. So networking, everybody knows about networking and going to actual events. And when I first set up this business was a scary world for me because I came from more party stuff. And also I associated it with my dad, who, great as he was, I never saw him, so I had a little bit of baggage.
Oh yeah, there's I'm sure there's a paradigm in there of, well, like all of us, like me with corporate, it was the same thing. Like, well, oh God, the more money I earn and the more successful I am, the more of a shithole I'm drowning in. So yeah.
Exactly, all of that baggage. So it was a real challenge, and that I was giving myself, and I was just approaching 60. So anyway, did this, and then started going networking, going to the traditional kinds of breakfast meetings around the table, 2-minute pitch, etc. I could do it because I've got the acting skills. Okay, so in a way that masked it for a while, but I kept coming away feeling awful. Just really almost depressed. I was exhausted. I sort of come back and think, oh, well, I got away with that. I've got through that. Despite the sort of apparent extrovert nature of me, there's quite a lot of introverts. So, what I realized was I went to another kind of networking event, which I went to an event yesterday with, I'll give them a plug, You Are the Media, and it was just a whole different world. Nobody was selling themselves. There were no business cards. We were just being people.
Sounds like a fantasy.
And that was when it started. I thought, so this is what's going on here. And then I realized that it was that fight. It was because I wasn't allowing myself to be fully relaxed me. And so no wonder I was coming away with this really uncomfortable feeling all the time.
Like you were an imposter, kind of, that, back to that imposter syndrome kind of a thing. Well, I think it's a perfect world. I know that people that know you and I know that people who know you today find that hard to believe. Do you feel like today that you still have areas where you still self-squash?
Yeah. I mean, it's because I talked about biorhythms recently, but that's Stella I forgot to mention things like moons and stuff in my talking about that. But you get days where it's so much easier to fall into that hole, just because you've maybe not had enough sleep, or something has just triggered something weird that, whatever, you've eaten something wrong.
100%. That's me, Trisha. Oh yes, we decided to have some sugar today. Totally the monster.
And then
I can't do anything.
This book here, I was really educated by.
How Emotions Are Made: The Secret Life of the Brain. Love it. I think I have that one. I don't think I've read it though.
It's the main takeaway is just remembering how your brain and body are connected. So if you give your body if you're giving yourself the signal that you're anxious about something, obviously your brain's picking it up as danger, and it'll do all these various things and chemical levels and fight and flight and all the rest of it. So I think now I'm much nicer to myself. So if I do get those funny glitches of, oh God, I'm useless, and I try to go through a more rational process of, oh, no, hang on a minute.
I think that's one of the greatest things about getting older. This brain body connection, it's always been there. In my youth, I was able to mask it, deny it, not pay attention. But I do find it is a blessing and a curse, because I find the older that I get, the more in tune that I am. And anybody out there who's listening, self-awareness of your mind and your body and how they work, and not assuming that, I'm in a bad mood because of something. It could be many things, right? It could be that you ate sugar. It could be that you're imbalanced. It could be just whatever. But the older that I get, the blessing and the curse is that I feel so much more equipped to deal with this stuff, but I'm also so much more acutely aware of how things affect me. So I notice when I eat the wrong thing. I notice when I haven't gotten enough sleep and how it affects my mind as well as, and when I'm having imposter syndrome, I can, or the inner critic comes in, I can recognize it's still there. It's still the critic, and it's still, feels shitty, but I understand where it's coming from. It is telling me to pay attention to something, and I don't know maybe sometimes what it is, but I figure it out. So, I mean, do you think that you would have, Trisha, when you were younger, so you wrote this book in your 60s. I mean, and all of this stuff is experience that leads us to where we are now, good or bad, right? All of the accidents that happen, good or bad. Do you think that you would have been able to write this book in your 30s or 40s?
No, absolutely no, 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 no. I mean, I just was navigating. I was just navigating the practicalities of getting through life. I mean, obviously, yeah, I mean,
It
yeah,
sounds like a book title, Navigating the
yeah,
Practicalities of Getting Through
yeah,
Life.
and
That is
and
a whole can that we were gonna open here.
and I didn't no, the whole self-awareness thing it just didn't work like that because I was kind of I think maybe nowadays you'd probably say I've probably got a bit of the ADHD stuff going on, blah, 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 but I'm not diagnosed. But looking back, I mean, I think the way I coped with stuff was sometimes just to launch myself into something else and launch myself into something else. So I wasn't so I didn't sort of flatten myself down and go into a hole when things were going wrong. But obviously the launching myself constantly was a bit exhausting and didn't always work out brilliantly. But I didn't at any point stop and think, why have I just done that? Why do I feel like that? That's weird. That doesn't make
Yeah,
sense. I
me
feel like
neither.
no,
Yeah.
didn't absolutely didn't do it.
Mhm. Well, it's
No.
very interesting how you're talking about, you were making me think of the things in life where we do jump into things, and maybe it's because we are deflecting, and maybe because aren't aware, or we're just in, subconscious denial of something, or we want to not I mean, we all do it, and I've still done it today, but it's interesting how jumping into those things, all those things that did, and maybe they were for the wrong reason, right? But you did them, and they still help to shape who you are today. And that's, whenever somebody asks me that question, would you go back and change anything? And the true answer is there's very little that I would ever change. If I thought it would impact who I am today, I wouldn't do it, because I like who I am today, and more every day I like myself. So
Yeah, that is very true. To be fair, I was blinking lucky as well because
you can swear.
I referred to blinking. I know.
It's
I
okay.
referred to the. I was flipping lucky
You
as
are
well
flipping lucky. I love it. Yeah.
because I did refer to 3 marriages. Well, I am on marriage number 3, which is I've known him for over 20 years, so I don't want to give the impression that I've gone ding, 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 and I'm on to my next one.
Okay.
And my second marriage was actually basically very healthy and very good, and we are still very good friends. And what I'm saying was, I fortunately went from a seriously bad marriage of abusive levels into something much healthier, and that doesn't always happen, because it's sort of, I was always on the cusp of repeating the damage, always.
Yeah.
Even during that second marriage, to be fair, I wasn't a sorted person. But that ended, but ultimately, as I say, we're still good friends. And then the chance of meeting the way I met this man that I am now with, and everything that has worked alongside. So I always feel a bit like I need to say that, because it's, how would it have been if I hadn't met this guy? Would I have been had so much strength to have gone through that journey? I mean, he was there when I went to uni. He was there with these sort of freelance businesses that I was doing, which weren't always financially, brilliant. He was there while I was coping with some other issues with my eldest child.
I mean, all of
Anyway,
this,
she
Trisha,
seems,
what if it had worked out with what I shall now refer to as the Italian? What if it had worked out and now you were living for the last, 40 years in, rich but miserable? I mean, that
rich but miserable.
so
Oh, and
yeah,
I don't think I'm very good at miserable. I mean, that I can get myself
I mean,
into
rich,
stupid
yeah, but
situations, but
nothing.
I'm not really. I did stick with marriage, number one, maybe longer than I should, but everybody knows, everybody who's been anywhere near these relationships knows that's what happens. You keep thinking it'll change, it'll change.
It's
And
all
in
too
fact,
common.
in that first marriage, I got, here we go again. I got 2 days before the decree nisi. I had left him. This was before
Oh,
I had
wow.
kids, and I called it off. So that, and actually, in many ways, that was the sort of weirdness of, there's a sort of excitement, like with the Italian waiter. There was an excitement about this guy that, and I didn't like boring,
Yeah.
which was to my detriment, really, because I should have done more boring. Now I can embrace things like routine and yeah,
I
that
can
was a
relate. I can
miracle.
relate.
A miracle.
And I think I've said this to Stella, who's viewing us today, but that sometimes I just like change, even if something's going really well. I get excited about change, even if it's not maybe the best outlook of change. I don't know what it is. Something about me, maybe the Aquarius in me. Trisha, can I ask you about so this book, if in case you don't know, I don't know if you can see it, but there are some lovely little illustrations, and you told me that you were going to give me a little surprise as to who did the illustrations in The Mystery of the Squash Self.
Well, I
You have
think
a
it
plug.
points, yes, and it points to the fact that I've said that my second marriage was actually very healthy. It was to an artist, and he's an
Ooh.
excellent artist. And if anybody wants to look him up, his name is Tony Kerins. He is the father of my delightful youngest son, and he is a northerner, but he lives around here, and he is just a superb illustrator, professional illustrator and artist. And
Awesome.
it speaks to the fact that we have a healthy relationship, in so much as when I came to do this book, I said, you would like to do so, and he did, with absolute generosity. And yeah, I find it a really nice part of the story, because
Yeah,
it's,
he's in the
yeah,
book, by the way, if you when you get the book, which you
yeah,
should today, listed there. That's lovely. I love
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Any more books in the works for you, Trisha? I mean, I've told you that I think you should, because this one is just so cool.
Isn't
But
it difficult to know where to go with things when the next,
not for me, Trisha, because I've got like 5 books that I just need to finish. So I have too many. I have but
I don't know. I got back into writing a bit with,
yeah,
and
you've got a
I
blog,
write
right?
stuff on Medium, actually, because I thought it wasn't quite LinkedIn article-esque. It was more that they are a little bit more personal. I
Which
don't
is
mean,
not a bad thing.
you
Uh,
know,
my
but
love-hate with LinkedIn.
I yeah. So I've enjoyed get, doing that element of writing, and I don't know. I keep reading Iris Murdoch at the moment. I've got this mission that I'm going to read all of her books, and she has a certain way of writing that I really love. And part of me thinks, oh, should I try doing crazy fiction? But in
Yes.
terms, yeah, maybe.
This is practically fiction.
Is it
It's like
practical?
it's really, I mean, kind of like I said, it's like reading a novel.
Yeah.
Um, Even though it is clearly structured to have,
Yep.
very
Yeah. Got
specific lessons, but
exercises in it and all sorts. Yeah. But you're right. I think I quite like the idea of just doing, starting something and seeing where it leads, and having
why
fun.
not? Yeah, whatever. I wrote 2 corporate books and was very corporate ranty, and this year I'm totally fiction novels, so
Yay.
you can absolutely do it. Just wanna check in with our comments real quick here. So Stella said, "Such meaningful work, Trisha." I'm sure she was talking about your reminiscence facilitating. I certainly agree. Doris says, "I'm obviously missing out on the Italian adventures." Well, yes, you must find you some, Doris, so just, figure it out. Some people it's just a travel thing. Some people it's a people thing. So, just go try it out. Stella says it's called an ambivert, like myself, probably talking about I think a lot of people fall into that. You know, I believe it or not, I am barely an extrovert, because the myth is that extroverts are just always, on and socializing. But the truth is, it's how we get our energy. And I am sort of 50-50, a little bit swaying towards extrovert, where I get my energy replenished from people. I can't go too long without socializing and being with people, but I need my quiet too. So I think there's a lot of us in between. Stella also says, "Oh my God, I want to talk about the progress chart now with the discussion about the brain and aging planning." She is planning a Cosmic Strategies episode. Well, we'll look forward to that, because I think this whole body-mind connection is amazing. Okay, Trisha, I know everybody is wanting to learn about your adventure with rock wall climbing. So first of all, Trisha is on Instagram. She is at Self Belief Unsquash. Go follow her. She's got some amazing reels, really getting some great traction of a lot of different things related to, and some not, to the rock wall climbing. But let's talk about this. This is kind of relatively new for you, the non-sporty. So how does a non-sporty wimpy person in her mid-60s decide, you know what?
I'm going to go late 60s. I'm 68 in August.
Right.
Let's
Okay,
go late 60s.
How did you discover that you loved? I mean, how did you even discover it?
So this is the advantage of being married so many times. You know, there's so many adventures. You get an illustrator for your book, and you get a climbing husband. So
this is your next book, Trisha, The Ex-Husband Effect, or The Husband Effect.
Without my climbing husband, this would never have happened. So when I say non-sporty, if you remember the school gyms, well, back in my day,
with horror, I remember them, Trisha, with horror.
Horse. Okay, just imagine I'm the one, in the slightly chubby, slightly asthmatic, that runs up to the springboard and literally stops.
Yes.
So I never ever went over a horse. You too?
Yeah, getting weighed in front of everybody, not being able to hang on the thing for more than like a half a second.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that
the
was
trauma,
me.
the terror of school. Gen Z, you guys don't know what we had to go through in the 60s and 70s and 80s when we the sheer trauma that we endured.
Absolutely.
In gym class alone.
And there was always the sporty ones, weren't there?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Last to be picked for the netball team, all that. So that was me.
Yes.
So we've got that in common, Beth. So that's brilliant. And I'm sure other people will understand. Anyway, fast forward. So my danger sport, if you like, was acting. So for a lot of people,
my risk, my physical risk.
Unless you fall off the stage, it's not that physically dangerous. Yeah. But a lot of people refer to it with fear. So a lot of people will say, "Oh my God, I don't know how you do that, Trisha. I don't know." So for me, it's not like I never exercised something that was potentially scary, because I did a huge amount of utterly crazy stuff, including cabaret acts and one-woman plays and the kind of stuff that would really give people nightmares. So I did exercise that adrenaline thing.
Sure. You took chances. You embraced risk and discomfort, but just more on a mental. Yeah, I was the same way. Like I have said, I do not do physical risk, but now that I'm talking to you, I feel like I know that you're going to inspire me to do so. But yeah, I was the same way. It's like if I don't care. Get me up on a stage. I'm not afraid. I will work through the pain, work through the discomfort. Exactly. But you want me to go do something that like ski, where I'm gonna, run into a tree and kill myself? No,
and I still wouldn't ski. But this
exactly, me neither.
This is the perfect. Honestly, I'm a total advocate for it, especially for #NeverTooOld. Because my knee was tweaky before, no longer tweaky. So anyway, my husband has been climbing since he was a teenager practically, and is brilliant at it, and lots of proper rock, outdoor.
Yeah.
So obviously in this country, you can't rely on weather. So he clearly, as soon as indoor walls became more of a thing, he did some trips to indoor walls. And one of them is not that far from us. And I thought, well, I'll go with him and I'll learn how to do the bit at the bottom, the belaying
I'll be
bit.
your helper. Yeah.
Because then he can go more often and I can be of some use. So I did that, and I did it a couple of times with another friend there as well. And then I just looked at this wall and I thought, my inner child basically came forward, and I just thought, because of all these colored holes going up this, and I thought, I could just see what happens. And I literally went up about 2 feet and said, no, I'm coming down now. And I'm on a rope. It's not even as if I'm going to fall off. But I was scared. And then Steve was so calm. He's very calm. My husband is very calm. And he just sort of supported. He said, yeah, come down if you like, Trish. Do you want to come down? So my kind of competitive thing then kicks in.
So fire.
I'll do a bit more, and then I'm at the top. And it's not a high wall.
Your first time?
And my first, but it's one of the junior routes. But I felt like
it's the baby. It's the baby.
Wow.
The bunny hill. The bunny hill of.
But it was
still.
Do you know what? I think I might have quite enjoyed that, and so then it just took off, and that was 2 years ago. And now I'm doing things I'm putting my feet on holds that I would have said, that's not a foothold. You must be joking. I can't hold on to that. And all of this stuff, because the nature of it is people think, oh, it's the height, and they think how scary, but actually it's not, because it's a flow activity, really. So there's challenge, but you can get better at it. And with your technique, you don't have to be all, you use technique and you grow your strength, obviously, as you do more and more. But, the way you put your hips here, and you become so aware of your balance and body and all the rest of it, that in itself is a miracle. And you can be so high up without really thinking too much about, oh my God, because you are on a rope. And if you have a trusty belayer at the bottom, which I did, you kind of don't get hung up on that. You just get hung up on, how the hell am I going to get my foot across there and over there without falling off? Because you still don't want to fall off. That's the weird thing. For me anyway. I still don't want to fall off, even though I know it's not going to hurt or take me down. But it's, your body is obviously working with all these things going on with your brain, and you have to do the mindset stuff. So you have to remind yourself to calm down, remind yourself that you're not in danger. You have to remind yourself that not to do comparisonitis stuff. So you don't go to the wall and look at people who've been climbing for 50 years and think, oh God, they're so much better than me. You don't go to the wall and look at teenagers and think, oh my God, they're so much better than me. You take it where it is. I am this age. Was never sporty. I've come from nowhere. And in 2 years, I've achieved this. And every time I go, there may be plateaus, which you have to be nice to yourself about. So there's a lot of
self, competition going on here with it.
Yes.
So you talked about it being, so it sounds like it's not just physically for you, and probably for many people, it's not just physically improving, but you've also improved your mindset and your, your mental health, just being able to accomplishment, right?
Massive.
That's amazing. So, can you tell me, and by the way, one of the things I love about you is that you are not out there with the perfect, here's my perfect climb every time. You talk about, you have your imperfections. Do you remember the first time that you fell on the rope, but the first time that you was that like, I think I would be freaked out, but.
No, well, the thing is that I had to make myself fall. So I had to do what is called fall practice, because some people you find, especially youngsters, they tend to go on there and they're launching themselves to every hole that goes, and they're just simply not getting it, and they're just swinging around on the rope. Not a problem. Me, major problem. I've got which is wrong in a way, because you need to be able to throw yourself at certain things and not worry about whether you get them or not. And in my head, example, recently, I'm like that far away from the top of what is called an auto belay, which is where they're a bit weird because you don't have a belayer. But they're great because people can go to walls and do this on their own. It's a sort of a kind of band thing attached to a whirly thing at the top, and you click yourself onto your harness and it goes up with you, and then you throw yourself up at the top and it slowly lowers you down. That's a bit scary the first
sounds
time.
like it would be fun if I were 12, but
but the weird thing is your brain, because I was like that far off the top where I would be throwing myself off in order to come down on the thing, and yet I wouldn't allow myself to oomph to this top hole in case I missed it. And I came down and I was thinking, that is so irrational, because I was literally about to throw myself off anyway.
Well, is it really irrational? How far up were you? You know,
but
if you were more than
irrelevant, because I'm not going to hurt myself. It's the mind. I think I don't like the idea of falling. So now I have to, because it doesn't hurt and because you're on a rope.
Did you just say you don't like the idea of falling?
Yes, but I'm on a rope.
Trisha, nobody likes the idea of falling.
It's a great example of your brain tricking you, basically. And it reminds you all that, because you're not in danger. But it reminds you all the time of the connection between your brain and your body. So I need to be saying things like, oh, go on, Trisha, deliberately fall. Go on, do this next one so you can deliberately fall, and things like that, because you're not going to hurt yourself. So you're playing with your brain all the time. It's great.
It is brilliant. Just checking in with the comments. Stephanie's joined us. Stephanie, hi, Stephanie. And then Kelly Rodriguez. Hi, Kelly. Thank you for joining. She says, Kelly says, I started bouldering, no rope. Oh, I'm scared of heights, but the scramble up that wall on the beginner routes, it's super fun. Good on you. Good on you, Trisha, and good on you, Kelly. That's really scary to me. But
no, that is scary, and I'm weird about it because of that is maybe an age thing. I had an ancient knee injury, and the idea of going for something and then having to do a fall onto the mats, even although they're all soft, and I think, knowing me, I'd fall awkwardly, my knee would go under, and I wouldn't be able to go climbing for the next 6 months. So I only do the very easy.
Or you're dead like those people that scale with no rope up, like, literally like, 15, 20 stories high. That's just crazy to me. So if you go to Trisha's Instagram and you follow her and you go to her reels, you will see a video. First of all, you're doing great on a lot of your videos, but you have one video in particular that has it is like starting to push 2 million views. This like almost 1.7 the last time I checked. And it's about this rock wall in a church. It is amazing, this video. So tell me, I mean, you said you didn't climb in this wall. You just looked at it.
I did climb, but I'm not on the video.
I'm not on the video. Okay, yeah. Tell me
the hilarious thing is that that Steve is almost like a Pavlovian response now. The same happens with cafes, actually, often new cafes or places. He knows that I'm going to want him walking in. So he actually,
that's funny.
Last time he said, do you want to do this shot? I said, oh God, yeah, I nearly forgot. Yeah, no, thanks, Steve. So and he's going in the door. Right. Yeah. So I've learned how to do some quite good reels, but with very, very amateur type editing, literally on the Instagram.
Oh, it doesn't matter. It's brilliant,
fancy, but I'm keeping them reasonably compact and, visual. But the church climbing walls are so visual, because the arches were there. This was
my God, the domes where you're like doing climbing kind of over upside down almost.
And we have sort of taken on this kind of road trip because I'm basically semi-retired. I mean, I am an old age pensioner, which helps a lot with life. So we do these kind of road trips, and we're incorporating visiting as many indoor climbing walls and occasionally outdoor rock, which has to be easy for me, as we can. So, and I just do these reels, and this one just, I think it was because people were commenting a lot on it, because they were saying, oh, Jane, do you know this one? Oh, must tell Dick about this one. And so all that was kind of going on, which the algorithm, of course, loves.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Tagging people. And but it is really an amazing video, though. Just to
November, December. 3-4 months later, it's still.
I've
still 700 followers, but I'm not even after followers. But I'm just saying.
I think it's brilliant, but it is a really Trisha has a ton of amazing videos with her in them, but this one in particular, the viral one, it is something that I've seen rock walls, in gyms and the YMCA here in the States, but I've never seen, and there are a lot of them that it kind of hard to get a really a 50,000 foot video or image of all of the different walls that this church had set up to do different climbs. So it was really, really amazing. So go hook up. Let's give Trisha a few more followers there, and then just watch her amazing videos and be inspired, because it really is, honestly, hashtag never too old. I mean, honestly, Trisha, I know a lot of people, I've said this to other people, including, Stella, who's on the call. I know it's sometimes it's uncomfortable to hear, but really for myself, I just turned 58. So, I need role models that are, in the 60s, where I can go, yes, see, I'm not going to be sitting in a rocking chair, sipping lemonade and not able to comprehend what's going on around me. This is just the start. I feel like you, I don't know that I could have accomplished. I don't know that I was in the mindset to accomplish stuff when I was that young. Which is, youth is wasted on the young, I guess. I had the energy then, but I still feel mentally like I'm, 25 years old, and I just don't, I mean, I assume that, because you're a very big fan of hashtag never too old, that you sort of feel the same, like it just gets.
Yeah, I do. And I think it's really important as it's Valentine's Day, I've already given Steve quite a lot of shout outs, but just another one. We're quite different in some ways. He's quite sort of geeky, analytical, much quieter than me. But we do share a sense of humor, and we every day make each other laugh, not through, a bit like you were talking about my son's sense of humor.
Yeah.
Quite almost accidental.
Yeah, it is natural, just like I'm just talking natural. And I'm just funny.
And we make each other laugh a lot. And sometimes I do silly thing. I am 68 years old in August. I only recently hid around the corner of a room in order to jump out at my husband while he was coming out of another room.
That's a whole other viral video waiting to happen.
I just want to say, that to me is just, I feel like there was this little kid that, to be fair, whether I allowed myself to be squashed, whatever happened, anyway, there was some squashing going on. Yeah. And I feel like it's okay to reconnect with some of that stuff as you unsquash. If it's you, there's no problem. I'm not saying, everybody's got to be silly like this or do this or laugh at this or whatever. But when you realize how much it aligns with something that just feels so natural, and maybe always kind of was, but then, and I talk about the fibs that hold us back, the fears, the illusions, and the baggage that, all part of this squashing thing, which is almost inevitable in certain ways. You can't go through life without a bit of squashing.
You have to do what you. The irony is we all want to never be squashed. But the reality is, if we don't get self-squashed, if we don't get squashed in general, we don't have the experience, therefore we don't learn and grow. So that's the irony. Of course, we don't want to remain self-squashed, and of course that's where your book comes in, but we all get there, and that is learning and that is growth. And that's why you keep
evolving. Basically, just keep evolving. I have no intention of stopping. The climbing thing just demonstrated to me how much. I would still happily do acting, and I have a friend, another very old person who's terribly creative, and he keeps saying, I'm gonna create something, I want you to be part of it. And I would happily embrace stuff like that. But equally, I said to myself, and I still do one care home I still go to a few times a year, so I still keep that bit up, and the Women's Institute's very occasional. I'm not pushing it out there, I'm not promoting myself, but because I did it for so long, I still get in. And those little things I can do And the same, if I get a coaching client or whatever, I can do them without feeling this is me. I have to, God, if this isn't working, then I'm not working, then nothing's working, because this is all I am. This is who I am. Yeah. Because you suddenly think, well, oh, look, I've just discovered this is who I am as well. This is great. I never thought that. And on we go. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. We just get to that age where it just, it is so much easier, I think, to do that kind of thing, because I think we're just more accepting. Allison had a comment in one of the promo posts, and she said, 60 is no number at all in the aging stakes. And Allison, yes. For our guests who are listening, we are going to be wrapping up here in a minute, and there is a little bit of a delay. So if you have any final words, please throw them in the comments. Stephanie says, truly an inspiration. It's wonderful to meet you here. I'm looking forward to connecting with you on Instagram. Thanks, Beth, for inviting Trisha on. Stephanie is getting much more prolific on. She was my guest last week for my birthday, and she is on Instagram doing some of her amazing yoga therapy and work, and it's amazing. So you guys hook up there. Doris says, I love #NeverTooOld. Trisha's so inspiring, shaping her life in her way, only 68 years young. Exactly. Yes, truth. And Stella says, sounds very meditative and evolving, a healthy body relationship. Yep. And I feel like as the older we get, the more we do, have that great relationship. So Trisha, before we wrap up, what do you want our listeners and our viewers to know? Do you have anything coming up? Where can we go? Of course, we'll put all of your information in the comments. But what are your final words for our viewers, and what's the best place to connect with you?
Right. I think, okay, so I'm very, very bad at any form of promotion. Hideously bad. I genuinely get re-inspired when someone like Beth talks about this book. So I would love you. I mean, it's not vastly expensive. There is a Kindle version, but it's quite nice to
you need the physical version.
You need the
you can get it.
It's got actual exercises in it, but
it does.
Like I said, it's something. I know somebody else who says they keep it on their desk, and when they're feeling a bit falling into the self-doubt trap, they pick it up. So that would be my biggest. I also have a TEDx talk, which I'm very proud of, which is on the same self-squashing topic. It's called Beware the Self-Squashing Prophecy. There is fundamentally a link to all of this on my website, which is trishalewis.com. And here's a funny story. It's TRISHALEWIS. And we could do a whole nother podcast episode on why I'm even called that, because that's anyway. But okay, trishalewis.com. And amazingly, actually, I got asked to do a speaking gig recently, and I thought, wow, this is it. It was from a company, huge international company based in Ireland. Wow. And I thought it's a bit unusual. I'm not even connected to these people. And a day before the Zoom call to talk about it, they embarrassedly said, oh my gosh, I've just realized it's the wrong Trisha Lewis. There's
no,
there is a Trisha
I beg to differ.
She's an Irish chef who lost a lot of weight, and she's all over Google, and she's written books and does a podcast. Hilarious. Anyway, that's not me. I'm not the Irish chef, but I do have a podcast, which is also called Self-Belief Unsquashed. And I aim to rejig and regenerate that podcast and have guests on it again. So if you're connected with me on LinkedIn, you never know what conversations, might lead to all sorts of lovely things for us mutually. So that also, of course, is on my website. And I do coaching, and I do one really unique, not over expensive sort of hour session, which has really, really useful benefits, and it's called Say It Out Loud. And I'd just like you to go and look at that on the website, because I'm so bad at promoting it. And if you're vaguely interested in any of that, we can have a Zoom chat. I'm not salesy, so you won't get
not at all. You will not. You will. Well, yeah, you'll have much to talk about. I'm sure well beyond. So we'll have all this information in the comments. Trisha, thank you so much for being my guest on The Thirsty Professional. Doris, who was viewing and maybe is still on, she asked me in a comment on one of the promo posts, what is the biggest unexpected benefit that I've gained from hosting the Thirsty Professional? And I would say, I told her this, that it's realizing how many amazing people that I have in my network already. You are a great example of that. When I first started looking at, okay, who do I want on the show? I started brainstorm a list, and Trisha Lewis is right there. And you were even kind of like, not super present on LinkedIn. I didn't know. You just came to mind and said, that's who I want. So thank you so much for bringing your energy and your personality and your positivity and your creativity to the show, because you're exactly why I do this show. So thank you so much.
Huge pleasure. You've been on my podcast a past episode or two, and I agree with you. We both of us know that if you use LinkedIn well, LinkedIn people go weird about it, but honest to God, the people you meet, treasures like yourself, Stella, other people, and anyone I'm not connected to, let's connect, and all the rest of it. And this has been a blast.
All right. So just checking in real quick, because Kelly says, lovely chat. Thank you so much for sharing. And Stella says, we have two inherent fears: loud sound and heights. Everything else is more or less perceived. I would agree with that. Thank you so much to our guests as well. Next week, February 21st, my very special guest will be another amazing person in my network, Lion Flood. Lion is known as your neighborhood hustler in the very best way. He is a dynamic content creator. He's an educator. He's dedicated to showcasing the art of video content through his innovative platform, VCA Academy. Lion has an amazing background. All my guests do. It's just, I find out stuff all the time. He's been in the military. He's been involved in film and TV work, entrepreneurship, and even worked as an extra on movies like Field of Dreams and The Bourne Identity, two movies which I've seen and am aware of. So brush with fame. And yes, as with Trisha, there are many more ands. He has his own brand of whiskey. So much more. If you're an aspiring speaker or a content creator, or you just want to perform better on camera, connect with Lion and then check out the show on the 21st. It's going to be a great one. If you are watching on LinkedIn, please connect. If you're not already, both with myself and my lovely guest. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions or feedback that we didn't get to, please leave it in the comments, or you can DM either one of us. And congratulate yourself for getting real about your career, purpose, and fulfillment. Trisha, Miss Hattie Arbuckle, and Inspector Lewis in her hat bid you a fond farewell, and take it easy.